Right. Again, well, as always, because it's a new unit, you should start with the overview. So look at Forensic Entomology Overview. And like I said, it's a short unit, so there's a short list of vocabulary terms. All right. Only half the class is here so far. I'll give the others a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Again, good morning if you just joined. We're looking at the new module this week, Forensic Entomology. Look at the module overview page. Only has 10 vocabulary words this time. So it only has 10 vocabulary words, but it's kind of a involved topic. It's about bugs. It might be the thing you want to hear first thing in the morning. Uh, we're going to talk about bugs. All right, I've graded most of the Mystery of the Bones activities. I'll get the rest finished today. So if you haven't submitted yours, today would be a good day to do that. All righty. We're still missing quite a few people. And I did have a video that I wanted to show, but what we'll do instead while we're waiting for a couple of more folks to join. Mm, Okay, hold on. I always forget to click the sound. All right, so this lesson is twofold. It's going to give you a brief anatomy of what bugs are about, and then we're going to figure out why are bugs important to solving crimes, which is our usual end game. And then I will have a Wednesday, Thursday. I'll have a short activity for you to do using the bugs. All right. I always feel bad that you all have this first thing in the morning right after breakfast and start your day off looking at crime scenes and bug stuff and skeletons and things like that. However, we gonna make it. All right, so again, while we're waiting for some more folks to come in, take a look at uh, what entomology, and it's pronounced entomology. What do we mean by? We have some words, metamorphosis, that we need to know what metamorphosis is. And if you had biology, you've done the life cycle of insects. So we're going to kind of review the life cycle of insects and why each of these stages is important to a particular um, timing of the the remains. Okay, certain insects appear on the remains in certain stages. So that's what, excuse me, that's what we'll be looking for. All right, so take a minute to just look over this first page. Uh, give these folks one more minute. Okay. Alyssa, Miss Martin is going to create a breakout room for you.
I messed it up, Miss Harris. Sorry.
Okay, I was wondering, I said mine is, my screen is going back and forth. I did that the other day. I was trying to talk with a student and when I going back, I took everybody out.
Oops.
All right, again, folks, while we're waiting for folks to come in, hopefully y'all are reading that introductory page. I'll start the video in just a few minutes. We got quite a few people still out, so I'm gonna give them a minute. But if you would be looking over the first page about life cycle of insects. All right, I think I could do this with, if I switch to the video, I think we'll be okay. All righty. Have a note page out and jot down a few notes as we go along. This video, he's going to start by giving you an introduction to bugs in general. He's going to talk about the different types of bugs.
When you write, your tone influences how readers respond. With Grammarly, just highlight your text and type how you want to.
Unfortunately.
Hey, Mr. P here. In this video,
there might be a commercial or two in here. All right, so what I want you to do is just jot down a few facts. You don't have to, at the beginning, you don't have to write down a lot about the insects, but because you have the life cycle on your Canvas notes, but just jot down a few things. Towards the end, he'll actually give you specific information about how they use it to solve crimes.
we're going to introduce forensic entomology and talk about not only what forensic entomology is, but why it's beneficial for forensic scientists and for our understanding of a crime scene and the events that happened within a crime scene. So, what is forensic entomology? Forensic entomology is all about the study of insects, specifically the insects that help tell us something about crime scenes or about decomposition or about a particular area. Okay, and we're going to get into all of these different descriptors, but for now...
Okay, so that's why I want you to make that note in particular. They use the bugs to give you a level or a timeline of decomposition. That's what they're most important for. They show up at different stages of the body or the organism's decomposition. So make a note of that.
There are a tremendous assortment of insects on the planet, and that's probably not something that you really have appreciated until now, but there are a whole bunch of insects that all do specific roles within our environments, and they actually happen to be the most abundant, diverse, strange, and beautiful group of animals on Earth. There are no other groups of organisms, specifically birds, mammals, fish, reptiles, amphibians, that are as diverse and are as strange than insects are. And I would even go a step further and say that there are no groups of organisms like those mentioned before that have as much impact on their environment as insects do. There are approximately 1 million species of insects on the planet, which is a tremendous amount of organisms that impact the environments all over the world. Okay, and there are new species of insects being identified on the daily or on a daily basis. Okay, now one order of insects right here called Diptera. In this particular image, it's a mosquito, but there are multiple insects within, or multiple species within order Diptera. This is going to be probably the single most important order we're going to talk about in this particular unit. All of the flies, all the maggots, all of the pupa, all of the actual insects and the different stages of insect activity are going to be of significance to forensic scientists are going to come from, most of the time, the order of Diptera. So we will dive into that and talk about what order Diptera truly is. And Diptera is the true flies. These are things such as mosquitoes, midge flies, sand flies, blowflies, and the common housefly. All of these insects in this particular image belong to order Diptera, and the reason why this...
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. You can make a note of that. The order Diptera are called the true flies, and they include mosquitoes, midges, sand flies, blowflies, and the housefly. All our little pests. Okay, and I also note that there are other different types of insects, but they're mostly concerned about this group of what they call true flies because they're the ones that help the most as far as crime scenes are concerned.
Order is so important to not only forensic scientists but forensic entomologists is that flies, you'll learn as we navigate through this unit, are actually the most common colonizer of dead flesh or of a body because of the life cycle and of the lifestyle that these particular insects lead. Okay, more on that to come. But for now, order Diptera, the true flies, are of tremendous significance to forensic entomologists and to you as we navigate through this unit. So, what are these insects? Entomology as a field of science is the study of insects and other arthropods. Now, not all entomologists study insects, and insects are not the only thing that are studied by entomologists. Arthropods contain the groups of organisms called spiders, scorpions, which collectively are known as arachnids, and crustaceans like snails and crabs and stuff like that. Okay? All of these kind of get bracketed into the field of science that studies them called entomology. That is the broad kind of area of science that specifically studies insects, but there is a sub-branch, if you will, of entomology that is specific to forensics, which, like we talked about in the first slide, forensic entomology, which would be not only studying these insects, but using our knowledge of insects and using the knowledge of entomology in general to help solve crimes, is forensic entomology. So, it's been estimated that insects have existed for more than 250 million years. That is way longer than humans have inhabited the Earth, which is roughly 200,000 years. So a lot of people consider humans to be a really, really old species, and we are actually not. We are actually very, very young as a species. Insects have been on the planet for as long as dinosaurs in a lot of cases. So, insects are incredibly good at inhabiting and colonizing specific environments. They're really good at adapting, and they're really good at evolving to an ever-changing environment. Insects serve many ecological roles on our planet, including pollination of flowers and fruits and the decomposing of dead organic matter. Obviously, butterflies and honeybees, those are going to be more of your pollinators, and a lot of the food items that we have in our grocery stores, specifically in the produce section, are the direct result of animal pollination, both butterflies and, in most cases, the bees. Decomposing dead organic matter is just as important ecologically, and that would be things like the flies and the order of Diptera that I've already talked about. Okay, why is decomposing dead organic matter important? Well, if the insects and other decomposers were not good at their job and didn't have an ecological role or a niche that is decomposing, we would literally have a whole bunch of dead organisms, both plant matter and animal matter, just readily available in our environment, which would obviously breed bacteria and breed viral infections and be really, really bad, and on top of that would stink. But luckily, because we have decomposers in our environment, those nutrients that are locked into the biomass of both plants and animals are going to be very, very quickly returned to the soil as that plant and animal matter is decomposed through the ecological roles of these decomposers. And so flies in the order of Diptera are those decomposers. So, some anatomical features of an insect that I want you to be familiar with is all insects have 3 body segments. You can see here the 3 segments are the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The head is attached to the thorax, which is kind of the midsection of an insect, and then the abdomen is also attached to the thorax, which is kind of the butt section of an insect. 3 body segments is a very, very good descriptor of individuals that belong to the group of organisms which are insects. If you compare those, like I said, to spiders, which are still studied within the field of entomology, spiders actually only have 2 body segments. It's a head and an abdomen. They do not have a thorax. Also, insects have 3 pairs of jointed legs, meaning they have 6 total jointed legs. Spiders, on the other hand, as you probably know, have 4 pairs of jointed legs, which are obviously giving them the total of 8 legs, which everybody knows is indicative of the group of organisms called spiders. So, the body of an insect is also supported by a chitinous exoskeleton. You probably know from your previous classes that chitin is a polysaccharide that is functional in nature, meaning it gives structural support to a lot of different things, in this case the exoskeleton of insects. Insects are invertebrates, meaning they don't have vertebra, they don't have an internal support system or an endoskeleton. They have an exoskeleton, which is the skeleton on the outside, and that exoskeleton is supported by chitin, which is a protein and carbohydrate matrix. Okay, most insects have wings. Not all insects have wings, but most do. The wings give, obviously, insects the ability to move themselves around their environment. It's a really good way of locomotion. Most insects begin life as eggs, but not all do. Most start as an egg, and they will hatch into larvae. When we talk about the order of Diptera, which again we're going to focus on in this particular unit, all of the flies are going to be laid or start as eggs, and they will hatch into larvae, which are maggots, and then will metamorphosis or go through a metamorphosis, which is a kind of a change, a complete change, as they navigate from egg to larva to pupa to adult. Okay, so complete metamorphosis is what most insects undergo. Not all insects go through complete metamorphosis. Most of them do. An example of complete metamorphosis would be within butterflies, which a lot of people study from elementary age on. In the butterfly situation, an adult butterfly would be the types of butterflies you see in the gardens or in your yards all the time. They lay eggs. The eggs hatch into caterpillars. Caterpillars consume a bunch of biomass and leaf material. They will produce a chrysalis, which is a cocoon, and inside the cocoon, the larva, which is the caterpillar, will change into the adult and will hatch, if you will, out of the cocoon into the adult butterfly. That is a complete metamorphosis example, but for the purposes of forensic entomology, bugs like butterflies don't really produce much data for forensic entomologists, and so we use dipterans, or the flies. In this case, adult flies will lay eggs. Most of the time, the eggs will be laid on dead animal matter, okay? A decomposing body. Those eggs will hatch within 8 to 24 hours of being laid. The larva will, or the maggots, will come out of the eggs. They will consume flesh or decomposing flesh for roughly 4 to 7 days. They will produce the pupa, and then the larva will stay inside of this little cocoon for 10 to 20 days before they emerge as adult flies in order to continue this cycle. That is a complete metamorphosis. Okay?
Okay. Now, what I do want you to take note of, one, I need you to know the definition of metamorphosis. Secondly, and I do believe the life cycle is on Canvas, but if not, we'll come back to this. But I have uploaded this video to the playlist, so you'll be able to go back to it. But notice there are days. So when the eggs show up, they're 8 to 24 hours. Larva takes 4 to 7 days. These are the things that they know about the bugs. So when they see them on decaying corpse, they said this, if it's this stage of the insect, then I know this much time has passed. Okay, so those dates and times are important. Like I said, we'll look at that life cycle a little later on, so I'm going to let the video keep going.
The larva is a worm-like eating machine, meaning all it does is consume flesh and will consume flesh continuously for 4 to 7 days. The pupa is a life stage, but it is a non-eating subadult stage where the adult is being completely metamorphed into that adult form. Okay?
All right, we got a commercial.
You know the most exciting thing about life? It's how you can change it. You can move to new cities, meet new people, take on...
So, forensic entomology. What is forensic entomology? It is the interpretation of insect evidence used in civil or criminal investigations. Again, it is the study of insects, but it is using and interpreting the insect evidence and our understanding of insects in order to help further or understand civil and criminal investigations. Evidence that we get or that we can get from entomology or from insects may be in the form of adult or the presence of adult insects, nymphs like subadult insects that undergo incomplete metamorphosis. An example of that would be grasshoppers. Grasshoppers actually look the same. Okay, small baby grasshoppers have the exact same body shape and body morphology as an adult grasshopper. They're just smaller. And so grasshoppers are going to undergo incomplete metamorphosis, which means they're growing, but they stay the same shape and the same physiology as they grow. Pupae, larvae, eggs, or insect body parts. All of those things can give us evidence, and they all can kind of mean different things within an investigation. Insects removed from a car's windshield, everybody's seen that, or radiator, or from the front bumper can contribute vital information for solving crimes. Like if a vehicle has insect evidence on it from a particular area, but a person that is known to drive that car claimed to have not been in that area, that is indefutable evidence that will suggest that that car and potentially that person was, in fact, in that particular location at that particular time. Okay? The job of a forensic entomologist is to collect and identify insect evidence and interpret it in relation to the environmental conditions and other variables that exist at a crime scene.
All right, I'm going to pause it there so that you can write that down. The job of the forensic entomologist is to collect and identify insect evidence and interpret it in relation to environmental conditions and other variables that may exist at the crime scene. All right, so again, write that down. And then going back to what he said, certain insects exist in certain areas. So I don't know if you watch, like I said, I like to watch crime shows. And so they'll be able to say that they were in Oregon and this type of bug is only found in Oregon, or this type of bug is only found in South Georgia, it's not found in North Georgia. Okay, so your car can tell on you, tell where you've been. All right, I'm going to let it keep going. Again, if you didn't get it all, the video is in the playlist.
Some of the different environment variables are going to be like weather data, temperature, humidity, potentially pH of the soil, rain patterns, okay, ambient air, lows and highs. Okay, all of these things are going to impact the rate at which insects grow, and that can infer, or forensic entomologists can infer from that information, how long a body has been in a particular environment based on the age of a particular insect, based on the known age of kind of known samples, right? Based on our understanding of how fast this particular species grows, we can discern based on where that particular organism is in its life cycle, we can kind of discern how long it's been there and how long potentially the body's been there, okay? Insect colonization. Insect colonization always happens on a body left in exposure to insects because, again, these dipterans, specifically the flies, like blowflies, are good at colonizing dead, organic, decaying flesh. The first thing they do is they come in and they lay eggs. Those eggs hatch into these larvae, which are maggots. The maggots will consume food for roughly a week, and then they will pupate before producing adult flies at the end of their complete metamorphosis. Okay? Insect colonization is, by definition, the arrival of insects on a dead body. It always happens. As long as the insects can gain access to the body, they will lay eggs and will colonize that particular body. Forensic entomology provides an estimate of the minimum and maximum amount of time that could have passed since colonization. You will learn as this unit goes on or progresses that we cannot specifically pinpoint, in most cases, an exact time of death based on insect activity. But what we can do is we can estimate the minimum amount of time that body's been out there and the maximum amount of time that that body's been out there based on insect activity, which gives us a window or an estimate for how long the body's been out there. Okay?
Okay, I'm paused. Actually, write that down. It provides an estimate of the minimum and maximum amount of time that could have passed since colonization. And you can add to that, it does not give an exact time of death. Okay.
It's still important data, and it's still an important piece to the investigation, but we cannot pinpoint an exact time of death, usually using just insect activity. Now, can we pair insect activity with other forms of evidence? Yes. And we can pretty narrowly pinpoint the window, or we can shrink the window, but we can't just use insect evidence to produce an exact time of death. Okay? The forensic entomologist report, along with all other evidence, reports from forensic toxicology, botany, which is the study of plants, and the autopsy, which is the study of the dead body from an anatomy and physiology standpoint, are then evaluated by the medical examiner, which is the coroner, or pathologist, which is an MD, who estimates the post-mortem interval. That is bolded because it is a vocab term, okay? PMI is the shorthand kind of abbreviation for post-mortem interval, which is the time between death and discovery of the body.
All right, this is a vocabulary word on Canvas, but you can write it down anyway. So post-mortem interval, PMI, which is the time of death, the time between death and discovery of the body. And so I need you to know that one because there's an activity that you have to do and you have to discover the PMI. So you need to know what PMI is. All right, and again, this is a vocabulary word on your Canvas page. So if you don't get that all right there, before I continue the video, it is in Canvas. Okay.
Most of the time, it's probably not hard to believe that people that are killed are not found or discovered the exact moment that they are killed, right? There is typically a period of time between when a person is killed and when the person is found that exists. That time is the post-mortem interval, okay, or PMI. Insects, and specifically forensic entomology, helps us to estimate how much time that post-mortem interval or that PMI is, okay? If you have questions, bring those to class. Look for future videos. See ya.
Okay. All right, so again, that video has been uploaded to the playlist. So you need to watch it again. You can. So again, I want to point out some vocabulary words that you should be aware of. All right. Metamorphosis. All right, so that happens in, what is it, both insects and amphibians. We're mostly concerned with the insects. All right, I'm going to upload a worksheet for you in a little while that's going to ask you to look at the life cycle of a fly. But basically, you need to know, like he said, it goes from eggs. So the adult fly will lay eggs on the decaying body. The eggs will develop into pupa. Those are little wormy looking things. So they move around and they eat and gain energy so that they can then go to the pupa stage where they rest and turn into adult flies. Okay, so that's mostly what each of these talks about, what is going on at each stage. Alrighty. So again, if you haven't taken the time to read this page over, read it over while I upload the worksheet that I want you to look at. And also go on to this next page and how it aids in investigation. So take a look at that. All right, so this is reading time. Everybody needs to be reading. And I'm going to, 1, take attendance, and 2, upload the worksheet for you to work with. Okay, so everybody's reading page 1 and 2. Okay, we're not, and not 3, so just 1 and 2. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, do attendance, and upload an activity sheet. All right, so everybody should be in Canvas. I'm looking at GoGuardian. Everybody is not in Canvas. And everybody should be reading. Everybody should be reading. Everybody should be reading. Caitlin, and I see you're signed in, but you're not where you need to be. Right now, everybody is reading, and you're in Canvas, and you're reading the first 2 pages of entomology, forensic entomology. You're looking at the vocabulary. You're looking at the stages of the life cycle of the insects. Okay. Mhm. Okay. We're in Canvas and we're reading forensic entomology. Okay. Let me see if I can do it this way. Forensic entomology. Okay, I'm going to put a link in the chat for you. I want to go. There we go. All right, this is a PBS site. Please let me know if you can access it. So I put a link in the chat. I need everybody to try to access this link. It works good. All right, I'm going to share this page. Okay, so when you could click on that link, it should take you here. All right, so please read the introduction. And then I want you to click on the first one. Okay, not the second one, just the first one. And in the time that we have left, read through this interview. We eventually are going to have an activity that goes with this site. So I just need you to do some reading today. Today's a reading day. Okay. All right, so eventually we will get to investigating the crime. And then we'll look at case flies. Okay. All right, so we got 10 minutes left. Use the time to read those sections on this website, please. Not those, just those. All right, so again, you're clicking on the link that's in the chat, and you're coming, it brings you to this PBS Nature site. We're looking at crime scene creatures. If I go back, the link actually took you to this first introduction page on them studying, and then we'll probably look at this one the next time, the interactive determine the time of death. So we'll probably look at that next time and see if you can actually do this activity. But we want to look at all of these. So if you get through that, we're not going to be able to do that today, but definitely start looking at the case flies, and they give you several cases to look at. Case files, sorry, not flies, case files. Right, it doesn't look like it's going to let you do this interactive activity, but do read the case files. Oh, found it. Okay. Ah. All right, they won't let you uh, do the activity unless you are in PBS. So we won't be able to do that one. But I have another one for you. Okay. Well, make a note of the file that you're supposed to be, the page that you're supposed to be reading, and I will